3, 2, 1, go. Hello. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Corey Has a Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Easley, and this is a rare occasion. It's a rare occasion because it's one of the few times, this has happened in the past, where I record the podcast and it's coming out that night. That's right. This is the most close to release episode that I've recorded in quite some time. So let me tell you, this is probably the most up-to-date most up-to-date information you're gonna get from what's been going on in my head. In your head, zombie. I got real guttural at the zombie part, but it was real angelic and in your head. Anybody could sing in a falsetto, right? Anybody, it doesn't matter. People sing in the shower. People sing when you know what gives you bravery? Having your headphones up so loud that you can't hear yourself singing loud in public. That shit gives you bravery. You endow yourself with bravery. That's endowment right there. We have powers and we don't use them enough, right? If you want to be brave, turn the music up in your headphones real fucking loud, walk into a public place and just sing at the top of your lungs. I imagine that that's kind of what it's like to be deaf, right? You don't know what you sound like, so it doesn't fucking matter. Make yourself deaf and go out there and show the world your talent because people need you. That's what they need. I want to be the very best. One of my dreams was always to have a good singing voice, and I never really had one. Never had one, surprisingly. And I know you guys listening are like, holy shit, I can't believe he said that. That's crazy because we listen to his voice all the time and it sounds like he's got a great singing voice. But I tell you this, waiting till the last minute to release this podcast is always like one of those things that for some reason, even though I've been doing this for so long and I don't have a huge listenership on this platform, I'm always a little bit like, well, what the fuck am I going to do, right? Like, who gives a shit about what I got to say about something I'm going to try to squeeze together last minute? But I tell you who gives a shit. You motherfuckers listen all the time. You people who tune in every week, and I know who you are. A big shout out to all of you because I love you. You guys really keep the lights on in here. I mean, if I was making money off this, you guys really would be keeping the lights on in here. But I was at the gym earlier, and I had 2 pairs of shoes with me. And I was like, these are my shoes for when I'm lifting, and these are my shoes for when I'm running. And it's funny when we think about sometimes like when we're struggling and shit, you know, like when life gets hard and we're like, fuck, how come I'm not rich yet? I work so hard. Why am I not balling out of control? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not rich, but I do have 2 pairs of shoes and some people are walking around barefoot, you know? And I know that might sound cheesy or corny, but I got it better than a lot of fucking people do. That doesn't mean, though, that I can't want better for myself. And I feel like some people get it twisted. Like, yo, there's nothing wrong with wanting better for yourself. There's nothing wrong with looking at what you have and going, I'm really thankful for all this. And then going, and I'm going to continue to grind so I could level up. Because leveling up is cool. Now, we also, it's funny because there's people that don't really care about leveling up. There's people that don't care about anything. And that's kind of confusing. But life is all about perspective, isn't it? I was watching Game of Thrones and Lord Varys is this bald dude who doesn't have a dick or balls because they chopped his shit off. So he doesn't have a sex according to the way that works, I suppose. Anyway, they refer to him as the eunuch. If you've seen the show, you know who I'm talking about. But there's this point where he's talking to this woman and he says, okay, from your perspective, I guess that makes sense. And that really hit me. I was like, damn, can you imagine? When was the last time you were in a debate or a disagreement or an argument or just simply a conversation with someone where you had different opinions and you answered them like that, like where you were like, yeah, I mean, I guess from your perspective, that probably makes a lot of sense. And then you start and then afterwards you go, from my perspective, it looks like this. That's such an art form to be able to have a conversation like that. Like, I get intrigued by it. I listen to podcasts all the time. I like to watch people talk to each other. And when I was younger, I used to want to jump in, right? I would always want to jump in and just like put my 2 cents in. And now I'm just so much more intrigued with like listening to how people communicate with each other. And you learn a lot more listening, obviously, than you do talking. And you learn a lot more from motherfuckers that have been doing it longer than you. So one of my favorite things to do is to just shut the fuck up and let the people who've been doing it do it right in front of you. I love that shit, man. It's like, it's just a level of wisdom I think it takes to just get to a place where you could hear someone's side and be like, and not get like emotional because it's different than how you feel, right? We've all done it. We're all guilty. I'm not saying that I'm fucking, that's the thing, right? Sometimes I come on this podcast and I'm just like, yo, I never, like, did I sound like a dickhead on this podcast? Like, did I sound self-righteous? Did I sound holier than thou? And I hate people that get on their soapbox and are holier than thou. So I'm always like, yo, I never want to sound like that. I can only speak from my point of view, right? I could tell stories about things I've seen, but I could only give it to you from my perspective. And I think there's always a little bit of bias in people's voice because that just makes them, things are unique to those people, right? So like nobody's really fucking like down the middle unless they like are trying to be. And then you get politicians and then that shit is fake to me. You know what I mean? I keep it real. There's things that I feel strongly about and there's things that I don't care about. And I don't think it's cool to not care about stuff. I think it's boring and lame to not care about stuff. I think we should care about shit, you know? So anyway, I was changing my shoes to these, from one shoe to the other shoe. And I was like, yo, it's so crazy because at some point in time, motherfuckers were just walking around barefoot, not because they were poor, but that was just cool back then, right? But, you know, we fucked it up. You know, there's broken glass. Can you imagine walking around barefoot in the streets of New York City or wherever the fuck you live? If you live somewhere outside of New York City and you're like in a suburban place where you live in a cul-de-sac, you might see people just walking around barefoot on this fucking concrete. And it's cool. I like being barefoot. Being barefoot is dope, but you can't do that shit in New York City. You go somewhere outside of the city, you go in some of these neighborhoods, you see people fucking leave their front door open just at all times. And for me, growing up in the city and growing up in the projects, I could never fucking imagine leaving my front door open so a motherfucker could run up in my fucking crib, right? And hurt me and my family, my mom, my sister, my brother. You know what I mean? Like, I could never fucking imagine that. But you go to these fucking peoples, and it's funny, like, when I was a kid, I would see this shit on TV, you know, and I'm from a place where motherfuckers would be like, yeah, that's some white people shit. You go and you just walk right into a motherfucker's house. And I see this shit on TV, and somebody would just walk right into somebody's house and be like, hey, neighbor. And I'm like, man, that must be nice, I guess, right? To just feel that safe at all times. Right? But I tell you what, watching the news will fuck you up. Because watching the news, you'll be like, yeah, nah. Because shit happens everywhere. That's why you got to grow up. The other day, somebody said to me, have you thought about being a motivational speaker? Because I said something motivational. And I wasn't necessarily trying to. This woman was talking to me about fitness, as people do, being that I am a fitness professional. Holla at your boy, Corey the Coach. On Instagram. That's my handle. But she asked me something and I was like, listen, man, you got to trust the fucking process. You have to commit. I think what people don't realize, and I notice this a lot, is it takes time, not only in fitness, but this is relatable, I think, to a lot of shit. it takes time to, like, you have to put time into whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like, if you have a goal, shit does not happen overnight. And anybody who's in fitness knows that. And anybody who is in phenomenal shape and has a good physique or has skills at certain things and is very skilled in their sport or their craft is like, yo, you didn't just pick it up. You didn't like buy a book and then read that book and then we're an expert. Like, you fucking had to practice and you had to keep fucking up and you had to keep failing and feeling like a loser and feeling ashamed of yourself a little bit. Like, why am I not getting this? And then you keep doing it and you keep fucking doing it. And it's like trying to lose weight. And I told this lady, I said, yo, listen, you're doing well. You're living in your body. You're looking at yourself every day. Other people could tell you whatever they want about how great you look. It doesn't matter. You got to be you have to live in your own body. And she was like, I said, just trust the process. And she was like, you should be a motivational speaker. And I was like, I didn't say anything that you wouldn't just hear from somebody else who was keeping it fucking real with you. But I also don't think I'm old enough to be a motivational speaker, which brings me to this. I feel like a motivational speaker should be at least 35 years old. I don't know. I'm not there yet. Maybe even 40. Maybe 35 is too fucking young. I think if you're 40, you've lived a little more life. You've made horrible mistakes. You've been down. You've been up. You've had highs and had lows. And if you could get to 40 and not have been defeated and crushed by your bad experiences, then I think you may be in a position where you could advise people or at least be a good example to them of how you could survive hard times. Because the truth of the matter is, I think that's all people want. I think all people want is comfort and security and just to feel like everything is going to be okay. I think that's what people want. And I think if you could go through hell and be a fucking grown-ass adult, not some 20-year-old, no fucking shade, but like at least 40 where you could be like, yo, listen, I've been through this, I've been through that. You know? When I was a little kid, I used to look at my dad and be like, this guy is so calm and collected. He's really funny. He doesn't talk unless he needs to talk, unless he's with his friends and family, and then we're all having a nice time and shit like that. But like my dad, also it's his birthday on Tuesday. Shout out to my dad. I love you, Dad. My first ever role model, that guy was a superhero to me and still fucking is. I love my dad very much. But I always would look at him and be like, yo, this guy is cool. He's handsome. He's funny. He's in shape. People love him. Like, this dude was so admirable to me, and I thought I could never be this guy. I could never be like him, you know? And then I got older, and I started seeing, like, I started to calm down, and I feel like that's, like, the trajectory, right? Like, you're cool. You're like 19, 20. You're in college. You're going nuts. You're bouncing off the walls. I was like Crash Bandicoot. That's my fucking spirit animal. I was bouncing off the fucking walls. I was jumping on couches and shit. Real talk. And then over the years, I kind of just started to calm down. I thought I knew everything. You think you know everything, and then you get humbled, and your ego just gets fucking shattered and beaten up, and you rebuild it, and it gets shattered again and again and again. And instead of being like, how much more can I take? I'm over it. It's just like, yo, bring it on. There's nothing you can do to me. I've seen it. I could face it, and whatever it is, whatever you go through, you should take that with you into the next challenge, because there's always going to be one. You don't have money. You have money. Your relationship is going well. Your relationship is falling apart. Family members are dying. Your pet is dying. Your job sucks. Your job is great. Your job sucks. You work for somebody. You work for yourself. Your business is going down. Whatever it is, you can survive it. And you got to put yourself around the fucking right people too. Because you're around a bunch of people that are just like jump, like, yo, once one person complains, it's like you give everybody a license to start doing it. And it's like, yo, I don't fucking, you don't need it. That shit's contagious. It's bad energy and it's like, yo, get away from me with that shit. That shit is whack. You know what I mean? You could be going through some shit and still have a good day. You could. Or you could just decide to dwell on the fucking negative. I mean, like, and listen, it happens to all of us. Again, I'm not trying to be on some fucking soapbox here. Sometimes I love when I'm down and I'm fucked up. And I even listen to songs to try to prolong it. Like, this song always fucks me up. It makes me sad. It makes me miserable. You know? But then sometimes it's like in a good mood and you don't even know why. Those are the moods you got to ride out. I did that shit the other day. I had a bunch of bullshit going on in my life, professionally, personally, whatever it is. And you know what I did? I did not question the fact of why I felt so fucking happy. Because new beginnings happen all the fucking time. Boom, drops the mic. Jesus Christ. But I'm not ready to be a motivational speaker yet. Not at all. I just like fucking connecting with people. But most of all, I like to share my experience because this is my outlet. I don't care if 2 people listen to this shit every week. If I could give you something, and if you want to share it with somebody, that's really cool, you know. But you don't have to. Like, I do this. This is part of my fucking therapy, and I love it. So I want to say thank you all for listening. Have a good fucking week. If you're going through some shit, keep fucking going. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, I think. And, you know, have a great fucking day, right? Take care of yourself and the people you love. Later.